are on You're Wrong Again. I am going to disagree with her, and she's going to disagree with me. That is Trish, and I am Eddie. And we disagree on almost anything and everything. Today, since we have the craziness going on overseas, everybody and their mother is talking about that. We want to keep it a little lighter. We want to not kind of bring everything down, even though it's impossible not to hear it every time you turn the TV on. So what we're going to do today is we are going to give our best choice of mainstream news and our worst choice of mainstream news. And I mean, be honest with you, they're all owned by the same people. So one is barely better than the other. When I want my news, I just look everywhere. I don't go to one specific spot personally, but I look a little bit of everywhere. I might check out Fox. I might check out CNN. I might check out Joe Rogan. It's anywhere and everywhere. And honestly, I think the most honest news now is news that you find on your own, is the middle ground online pundits. It's not the ones with big businesses. Anyway, we want to see what mainstream we cannot trust and one that we kind of trust. I don't know how you feel about it, but I don't really trust any of them. I'm just giving you my least worst when it comes to my best. So I don't know who you trust the least, but if you want to have at it, the floor is yours. And what mainstream news source do you distrust the most and why?
So I know that you were going to assume I was going to say Fox.
I thought that might have been one of the choices, but yeah.
I mean, they're in the top ones I don't trust. I'll be honest. But if you're looking at statistics on who skews the most, it is actually not Fox, which is, again.
Well,
sorry.
I actually saw a ballot. I was doing some research saying out of all the mainstream sources, minus ABC, Fox is actually trusted the most.
Well, they're trusted by
it's not a
people,
lot.
but what I'm saying is they're trusted by people, but they're not considered. They're still considered extreme right.
Yeah.
So
Well,
like they're so I'm actually, if you wanted, I have a scale pulled up on the most accurate, but we can look at that once we're both done.
okay.
But I would say
So who is your least one?
that's so hard.
Like if there's 18 news channels and news is kicking off somewhere, something's happening in the world, who are you turning on last? Who are you saying, nope, not you. Definitely not you. Or if you're watching them, who are you saying, oh, that's bullshit. You're lying through your teeth.
That's so hard. Okay, so the problem is so for me it always depends on what they're talking about. And because that's a big issue when it comes to like politics.
Which is big news.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to say there's a news station called The Federalist, which is extremely skewed to what Federalists believe in is going to be something along the lines of the exact writing of the Constitution. The exact, like word for word. And the issue with that is when you go into the newer amendments, the 28th, 27th, 26th, they don't see that as the original Constitution. So when it comes to...
Well, by definition, they're not, though, right?
Yeah.
They're amendments.
But they're not. But the problem with the Constitution is that it was made to be a living document.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, by you saying they don't see it as the original Constitution, yes. That's correct. So, it's not the original Constitution.
When you're going up to like the 10 amendments, the first 10 amendments, which were originally written and then they were progressively added to, they only believe that, which is an issue when it comes to like...
Yeah, those are the Bill of Rights.
Yeah, and that's typically the majority of what they believe in. So when they come to women in power, they don't believe in that. When they come to people who
there is no Federalist channel.
There is a Federalist news station.
But let's see if we can somewhat keep it somewhat mainstream, because I did research and I didn't even really see much of Federalist at all. So like Fox, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, the big boys that you have on regular cable. If every mom and pop has the regular cable package, who do you like the least out of mainstream?
The New York Post.
Federalist might be on the mainstream by status quo, but
if you are
everyone knows who they are.
If you are extreme right, you will know who the Federalist is. If you extreme,
yeah.
So
but the majority of people are not extreme right.
The New York Post, and for the same reasons, they are very
Okay.
Very strongly skewed.
That's one. New York Post. That is a mainstream. It's a different source than like TV wise.
But I'm going to say this. If I have to do two, the extreme right that I don't like would be the New York Post. The extreme left would be the Young Turks, which I'm sure most people have heard of.
And the Young Turks, you would think would be online news, but it's become somewhat mainstream. I mean, it really has. They're another arm of the Democratic Party right now.
But the problem is they are extreme left, so they're going to be showing a lot more bias towards the right, and that's the issue. Is we're not seeing something that's going to be specific to both. We need something that's more middle of the ground.
Have you watched the Young Turks?
I have. I've watched both New York and.
Do you know who Cenk Uygur is? The main guy?
Yes.
Well, he just put his bid to be president a few days ago.
Because he wants
Biden out of there, and he's scared if he goes against Trump, he's going to lose. So he said, I am putting my name in the ring because I want to push other great Democrats in the ring because Biden will lose. And if we don't do nothing, we're fighting the Democratic whole social fabric and fucking U.S. Constitution is. So he's actually a presidential candidate now. He put his name in the ring even though he's never born in the U.S., but he says he has a workaround. That the Constitution has already amended that, saying that you shall not basically hold anything against somebody else from a different country that might use prejudice against them in any way. It goes along those lines. But by the word of the law, he can't run. But he's running. And
he's not really right. He's not going to get put on the ballot.
Well, he's trying to. And Anna Kasparon, his co-pilot, basically, was asking him, listen, Cenk, you're not born in the U.S. You know this, right? He's like, oh, yeah. But the Supreme Court decided this years ago by not showing prejudice against immigrants. And I'm going to bring that saying that involves this, too. So, yeah. But Cenk's kind of a nut job, and he has that Trump derangement syndrome.
And it's one of those things where there's both things.
Crazy right, crazy left. Yep.
And that's what I'm kind of, because Fox, so... Yeah, again, I'm going to show this chart later, but yeah, the Young Turks and.
Do you read the New York Times?
I do.
Do you? Oh, I didn't know that. I mean.
No, this is the New York Post, though. This is the New York Post that I'm talking about. But yes, that's not the same. They're not the same thing. But yes.
The Times is left, isn't it?
Times is more left, but again, if we're going to extremes, these are the two extremes that I'm looking at.
Okay, so you're saying basically, your worst is basically the extreme at the ends of the spectrum. And the extreme right for you is the New York Post, and the extreme left is the Young Turks.
Which I do. Oh. Young Turks is entertaining. It is very but it's not really. Sorry.
I've seen a little bit of the Young Turks. Hey, speaking of that, here's mine right here.
Whenever I sit at the desk, she does this.
Yeah, that's your sister. That's your sister, Gizmo. But yeah. Okay, so you basically took your worst as all the way left and all the way right. Yes. Now, do you enjoy reading the New York Times or New York Post?
I enjoy reading it, but it's one of those things where it's like if you watch a news station that's extreme one way, and then you're watching a news station that's extreme the other way, you're going to get the same story, but in two completely different points of view.
Like the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. That was a perfect example. And Kyle Rittenhouse, the right side was saying, oh, he went there to defend his this and defend this that. But then the left thing on the same news story was saying, oh, he went there to cause trouble and start mischief and kill everybody. So the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Maybe he wanted to start a little shit, but maybe he was also trying to protect his family. But both sides of the news was saying he's a great guy, he's a horrible guy, just back and forth.
But the thing with Kyle Rittenhouse that really bugs me is that he was underage, he was driven across state lines. There's a lot, but again, we're talking about strictly.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just an example how both sides of the news can give you two kind of opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, there's always whenever someone says when there's two people in a room, you'll have three different answers: the one answer, one person's answer, and then what's actually correct. It's
the funny part is that the same people own all them fucking news places.
Well, actually, the people who are extremely right, they are owned by right wing. There is one, I think it's MSNBC, that was just bought out by another company that's more right, and you can actually see their politics shifting as time goes on, which is really
Fox
interesting.
News, CNN, and MSNBC. Fox is right, CNN's left. they're owned by the same people. Well, the Murdoch specifically own Fox, but when it comes to the basically the stock market, the BlackRock Corporation has more stakes and shares of all of those news channels. So essentially, BlackRock Corporation owns right and left news.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Now, who are your top? Who's your top worst?
I basically go on how I feel. My worst ones, I also have a tie. I have a tie between two radical lefties for two different reasons. One, CNN, only because they are lying pieces of shit. And it's not like they get stuff wrong. I can deal with stuff being wrong. I'm okay with the getting stuff wrong. It's the straight up lying. When the mainstream news straight up lies to you, to your face, and don't get me wrong, I typed in the same thing for all these news places. When I typed in, show me what CNN has lied about over the years, I got lists. When I typed in, show me what Fox News has lied about, it kept telling me what they got wrong. There was a difference. Fox might be right, but they're not straight up lying to your faces. So the CNN thing, I got five things of how they lie. And MSNBC pushed the same things. That's why they're in the same boat with CNN. But CNN, one thing, the whole Russian collusion with Trump, there was 4 years and they knew it was a lie. They knew it was paid for by the Steele dossier by Hillary Clinton. They knew it was a Hillary Clinton hoax, but they pushed it for years because Trump called them fake and they were getting him back. So by skewing his name in the mainstream, it made them feel better by just straight lying. That was one. Two, they basically called the Hunter Biden laptop Russian collusion, Russian fake news, Russian interference, and they knew it was real because a senator found it and got access to it from the actual computer laptop space where it came from. They knew it was a real thing, and they told everybody in the public that it was fake. They told everybody and their mother it was Russian disinformation, and they knew it was real. There was proof now that they know it was real, and it's proof now it was real. And that he's going through court now with a bunch of shit inside of it. That was two things they lied about. Three is this guy named Nick Sandeman. I don't know if you've heard this story, but it was huge for about a month on CNN about 2 years ago. It showed basically a video of a teenage boy, a white teenage boy getting gas. And then it showed an Indian guy, a Native American guy holding up a sign, and it showed that the kid laughing at him. And for about a month, they portrayed that the kid had spewed some sort of Native American hate on him. But when the whole story came out and the whole video came out, that Native American came up and started a fight with that kid. And they had half that video, which they didn't show. They didn't show the first half of the Native American coming and starting a fight with this kid while he's trying to pump his gas. But when they played it on TV, they played the end where the kid was fighting back, and it made it look like he was hate criming a Native American. And when it came out, the whole video came out, is they cut half in half. They cut the half that showed the Native American guy started the whole fucking thing. It was Nick Sandeman. So if you want to Google it, it was a whole big story. It was about a month. This guy's family got hate. They actually settled some sort of lawsuit, undisclosed amount from CNN, because they actually lied, physically lied. So they had to pay the guy for lying about him. Number two, I know a lot about because I listen to Joe Rogan. There was
he's on one of my least dependable.
Joe Rogan is hard left. I don't know if you think about it or not, but he's left. He was raised by hippies. He might have some views of the right, but he is mostly left. And people call him right because he has an open view of everything. That's crazy. But I like that he's in the middle. He's for gay marriage. He's for trans. He's for all that shit. But he's also pro-gun and pro-free speech. So he's called alt-right because he's also for that, which the left used to be for that, but that's a different discussion. Anyway, what they did to Joe Rogan was despicable. And he even had a CNN anchor on him and confronted him face to face. When Joe Rogan had COVID-19, instead of getting the shot to get rid of it, he took hydrochloroquine or something like that, or it was some sort of over-the-counter antibiotic. I forgot what it was called, but they had CNN calling it horse dewormer, that Joe Rogan has taken animal veterinary medicine. And what they also did when they showed him talking about it, because Joe Rogan basically said, listen, I exercised, I got the sleep I needed to, I took these over-the-counter antibiotics, this is what I did, I took some vitamins, and I was great in 2 days. And for him saying that by going against the shot, CNN basically made up a whole story how he was taking horse dewormer. Even
When
though
was
this is
Joe
taken by
Rogan fired?
Huh?
When was Joe Rogan fired?
Joe Rogan was never fired.
When was he? You said he was let go. CNN.
No, he confronted a guy from
okay.
CNN on the Joe Rogan because after this happened, he offered the guy to come in and talk to him because they called Joe Rogan a horse dewormer taker, that he was taking veterinary medicine. And the medicine he took is taken by billions. In fact, it's how India got rid of COVID, by this specific over-the-counter cheap antibiotic. But we're not allowed to say that because then they can't have the vaccine error-proof. The whole way they were able to prove that the vaccine, that you can't sue the vaccine now, is that there was no other option. But this proved that there was another option. And he was saying he took it and he got better. But with CNN, they put a filter over his face. It made him look sick. A yellow filter that looked like he was pale, not healthy. And it showed the same video that they showed of him and an actual video of the spot that they took it from. It looked like night and day. He looked like a healthy guy saying, hey, I feel better. This is how I did it. It's how I beat COVID. He never said don't take the vaccine. He said, I didn't take it and I took this and I felt better. But since Big Pharma owns CNN, they said, hey, you better fucking let the public know Joe Rogan's lying, even though he wasn't. But they tried to defame him, and Joe Rogan brought him up to his face and said, listen, that was bullshit. How can you work for a company that blatantly lied? He's like, no, I understand we got it wrong. Like, no. You didn't get it wrong. You lied. Straight up lied. And then my fifth thing, of course, you've probably heard of the Jesse Smollett thing. You've heard of the anchor from CNN that got supposedly hate crimed in Chicago by a bunch of white supremacists when the whole Trump thing was saying, hey, this is MAGA country. And they tied him with a noose. But I remember that.
But
that came out to show that he actually paid 2 African guys to do it. And then he kept the noose around his neck when the cops show up. It was all it was a fake hate crime.
Yeah,
and they pushed it for months knowing it was a lie. Knowing it was, because they had the police reports. They know the police saying this don't look right, this don't look right. So that's 5 things they did that they pushed, that they blatantly lied. They didn't get these things wrong. I'm okay with that. And if they skew left, fine, that's how they feel. But they straight up lied. They had the country on 5 different, that's just 5 different ones. Now, also why I hate MSNBC on top of that, because they also pushed all these same stories because their things are from CNN, but they're also super, super racist. And it drives me nuts. They literally have shows about a half hour a day, 5 days a week, saying how horrible white people are by Joy Reid. Joy Reid has said on multiple occasions that just being white in itself is a racist thing. And she just spends a half hour a day saying how white people are evil and how we can't help it. We just are. It's innate. And I can't stand that woman. I think she is the most racist person.
Well, who is she?
Joy Reid. She's an MSNBC talk show host that has many occasions calling white people evil on mainstream news and getting praised for it. Speaking truths. So I guess truths is white people are bad and black people good. So it's just, I don't like the lying. So then they also lied like CNN. But then on top of that, they push racial superiority against white. Every way against white. Her whole show is white people bad, black people good. Every single day. She has on the Reverend Jesse Jackson. She has on Charlemagne sometimes, and they all speak the same shit. But she is the most racist person in America right now, in my opinion. And it's not even close. Because just picture the opposite. Picture Tucker Carlson on Fox 10 years ago, 5 years ago, saying, hey, black people are just evil just because they're black. Black people, they just can't help themselves. They grow up and they're just horrible, horrible people. Which is essentially what Joy Reid is saying about white people every single day. But she always praise, and if that happened on the left or on the right, that person would be screamed down from the highest. They'd be fired from their job. They'd be never able to get a job in fucking mainstream news again. They'd be called racist the rest of their lives. But the fact that she's black and towards white people, it's okay, and it's just okay in the bubble they live in, which is sickening. So I think white people hating black people is sick, and I think black people hating white people is sick. I think hating people on the color, gender, religion, is a horrible thing. It should be abolished on every side of the spectrum. And the fact that they push hate on the one side and makes them just as bad as the Ku Klux Klan was 50 years ago. Because they're pushing it out there and telling other black people white people are bad because they are white. That's pushing out hate, and that's pushing an agenda, and that's pushing divisiveness between our neighbors. That's pushing people doing stupid shit in the name of hearing white people bad every single day. And there are bad people. There are bad white. There are bad black. There are bad Latino. There are bad everybody. So you can't just counteract an entire group of people because you've been born and bred to think white people are evil because 300 years ago, people with the same colored skin of you were slaves.
Well, you have to remember, right now, there are still people who, like, okay, there are
You
still
think
people.
we're more racist
wait.
now than we were in
No.
the 90s?
I think that we hit it more in the 90s. But wait, you didn't let me finish my thought.
Okay,
So
go
give
ahead,
me a
sorry.
second. There are still people who went through radical changes. So if we talk about, because the 60s were not that long ago. They really
Yeah,
weren't.
but Joy Reid was born in the
It
80s.
was like, it was still, but I'm saying that their parents went through segregation, because segregation ended in the 60s, kind of. It wasn't that long ago, but that means we still have
Yes, it was about
grandparents
70 years
and
ago.
grandparents, and then we still have those parents, because again, our mother was born in the 60s.
The laws weren't pushed to the nth degree fairly in that time. I do agree with that.
And so we have people who do remember that, and those people also probably remember that their own grandparents were slaves. They were.
There weren't slaves in the 60s.
It was in the 18. No. I said they remember that their grandparents spoke.
But their grandparents weren't slaves. Slavery was abolished in the late 1800s. It didn't become law and pushed until like the 20s and 30s. But there weren't slaves in the 1900s.
You have to remember 1880s. Their grandparents were children when that finally
happened. That's like 5 generations ago. That's like great grandma.
For ours, but their grandparents can remember that their grandparents spoke about what they went
their
through.
grandparents remember. Yes, but so were Jews.
And again, they don't particularly speak about it, but there were still Holocaust deniers from the Jewish people. But
Jews don't go on TV saying how horrible white people are because their grandparents' grandparent remembered the Holocaust.
But the people who argue, I hear myself again. I'm hearing myself repeat. But some people will speak out against people who are Holocaust deniers.
Okay, wait. So if that's the case, you think it's okay for Joy to bash?
No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that one thing that we do have to remember is there are people who were around during segregation.
Absolutely. I mean, it's taught.
It's actually really not taught in history classes.
Well, it was taught in our history classes.
So, I mean, again, when we talk about, like, we hear slavery was abolished on this day. This is when slavery was abolished, but technically it wasn't really put in that full process until the 1880s.
Until they ratified the Second Amendment in the 1920s for black people.
So, but we weren't. I was taught that in U.S. history at the college level, but I was not taught that.
I was taught that in school.
I was not. We were in El Paso. I was not taught that. In U.S. history class in Syracuse, I was not taught that.
In Mid Valley.
Yeah, I didn't. What grade were you in Mid Valley?
7th, 8th, and 9th.
Yeah, I wasn't. I was not taught that. We took geography in Mid Valley. In
history.
But ours was more geography because I remember I had trouble with the continents and shit. But yeah, so
you still do.
No, I don't, and I'm working with the kids because they're having.
How many continents are there?
7.
Okay, all right.
So it's definitely like, and then the state capitals, man, those bitches.
Yeah. I still know the capitals. I was always good at the capitals.
I'm working with Eros on that because he doesn't know that, but I had to learn that in 3rd grade.
What's the capital of Oregon?
Don't fucking know. Listen, I live in Pennsylvania. Capital of Pennsylvania is Harrisburg.
Okay. But
that's what I mean.
I hear that all the time, and that seems to be an excuse said by the left saying it's okay for black people now to speak hate into the air because their grandparent went through shit.
Well, see, I'm not saying it's okay, but
it was more recent for Chinese victims of being indentured servants more recently. And
honestly, that still happens. We still have human trafficking like that.
Thinking the Holocaust is just as bad, if not worse, than slavery. And the Jews don't do the same thing. They stand up, they put their bootstraps on, and shit happened. Our people were persecuted, so we're going to do better moving forward.
So
And
here
that's
again,
the
I
problem
don't.
is we've taught black people that it's okay to keep bitching about that to happen, and that shows that they're able to be hateful now because that happened years ago, and
I don't
that's
think
what's
those
going
are
on now.
comparable situations. I think they're
It was
two
horrible,
completely,
yes,
but they're
but
two
you
completely
don't
different
fix
things.
horrible with
But are
horrible.
we? But if we're going to talk about that, what about the Asian Americans? It wasn't just Japanese that we ourselves
Oh no,
put in
absolutely.
the
But there is more
concentration
black
camps.
on Asian crime and hate crimes than any other group besides black on white. Black people cause 50% of the violent crimes in America. So they have the most people on white people, and then the second most on Asians. In fact, it was a huge thing in San Fran like a year or two ago. They actually had to put
Where?
up signs saying "Stop Asian Hate" because black people were attacking Asians all over San Fran for no reason. Well, I think something to do with China. I don't know exactly why, but black people and Asians have a really sketchy relationship. That's why Asians sued the college system for basically letting black people in with 200 points less on their SAT scores because they're black, and Asians were
So
being pushed away because there's too many Asians in that school.
here's the thing, though. When we were talking about things like violent crime, which I don't know how we got into this because we're supposed to be discussing news, but if we're
Well,
talking about
we're
that,
kind of because Joy Reid, my anchor that I can't
yeah.
stand, pushes racial hate.
Well, here's but for if we're talking about this, some of the most successful places that rehabilitate people that were in prison are some of the Norwegian countries.
I've
Are
seen some of those
but
prisons. Yeah,
there's this very specific reason is because we don't rehabilitate people that go to jail. In general, we don't.
I
We really
agree.
don't. They
I
get put
agree.
in cells. We treat them less than human,
But we
which is
also
a
tell
problem.
black people their entire life from day one that their people have been persecuted by white people their entire life.
Well, I
And
mean,
they
when
grow up
we have to
hating and
remember
hating and hating.
that again, that depends on situational. Because again, one of my good friends happens, and she doesn't think like that. But really, Bakara?
But lots do.
But like,
I would beg to wager the majority do.
I don't. I
It,
think the
it
majority of
I
thought.
hope it's not, because the majority of black people hating white people in the same country is horrible. But I think we've done that by the news. We've done that by people like Joy Reid spewing white hate for years and years and years because persecutions have happened years and years and years ago.
But you do. You also have to remember, like, I remember when we were stationed when I was stationed overseas and everything, and we're surrounded by people of different, like, a lot of the things that people don't realize. Our military, the majority of it is not white.
Oh, yeah, absolutely,
It's
yeah.
really
I
not.
mean, and people don't get that.
But I again, hi, I'm talking with my hands, and it's making her
Well,
upset.
our military is probably a close thing to a meritocracy. If you're good at your job in the military, white, black, female, Hispanic,
Well,
whatever,
wait, I
you
wasn't
will
gonna get
go.
it. I was so I
But
remember being over there, and I didn't see a lot of racial thing. And I dated Martin at that time too, and he was not really. And yeah, it was. But
hey,
he himself was not the greatest person to date, and it wasn't because of his color. It was because he was lazy. We figured that out
well,
after a while.
I think we have a very skewed perception because both of us grew up in a black house for years.
Yeah,
So we were able to see it from that perspective, like inside there. But we also see it from this perspective of just being hated on because we're white.
but
I mean,
but
I
here's
think I
I
was
don't.
jumped at
I'm not.
least 4 times growing up because I was white.
So I actually got into an argument with someone on Facebook, an intelligent with an awesome woman who was actually raised in an area where she was taught that people who are white have this complex about them where they think they're superior to other people.
Yep,
And
that's what's pushed. Yep.
me and her went back and forth for like 4 or 5 hours in a thread, just talking back and forth. She was very smart. She didn't say anything that was outwardly prejudiced towards myself, but she's like, this is what I saw, this is what I was taught. And I went back with the same thing where this is how I was taught to behave, how to talk to people. I was raised with a family member who was in the military. We were surrounded by people of color. It wasn't just black people, it was Hispanic people was
Yeah,
another large portion of our military
it was
over
a
in
melting
Germany.
pot.
And then over in Germany, there was even more of a mix of people who were Filipino. There, it was everything. So I think our perspective was that she was raised in this area in a specific way. They were taught to behave a certain way
Yeah,
because.
because white people supposedly have a superiority to where we are magically behind the scenes hating on black people and keeping them down. And
But
that's what
the
kids are
thing is,
taught growing up.
me and her ended up becoming friends. She's not on my friends list now. We are friends. We went back and forth and kind of she still has some things, and again, I probably still have blind sides that I don't know about, but again,
Absolutely.
we go back and forth, and that's one of the things that I would rather see more of, is being able to talk to people who feel that way and kind of like,
100%.
this
Yep.
is where I'm coming from, and
Yep.
rather than like someone
Well,
yelling in your face, because again, they do have people who are racist against people of color
yep.
too, and they were
Oh,
raised with that
yes.
as
Oh, yeah.
well.
There's
And
racist white people. Don't get me wrong. There is.
and
There's
there
racist black people. There's
and
racist
then
Asians. There's
but then
racist
you see,
Latinos.
but again, like I remember living in Syracuse and
Yeah.
being followed by some guy I didn't know. But I went into our corner store and I'm like, "Hey, this guy's following me home. I don't want to go home." And they sent someone out to protect, in a way,
Yeah.
protect me. And
Because
it,
there are really good black people. There are. There are really good people in every race, in every spectrum. There just is. It's just the assholes that push the hate. That's what, because what makes me mad is it's the mainstream news, and they should
yeah,
be pushing like togetherness, and like if something happened, yeah, like hey, it was a black guy and a white guy, they got into this, shit happened. Hopefully they didn't hate each other for that, but that's not what they do. What's happening now is that the hateful and the racial separation is being pushed to the nth degree. Every single thing that happens, if someone gets shot, the first thing that pops up is it white and black. And if it's white hurting black, that is glamorized now, like crazily.
yeah.
And
But okay, so let's get
it's making
into
us all fight.
let's get into the ones that we believe are the best.
Okay, yeah, and that was just why I didn't like CNN, MSNBC.
There's things I disagree with what you say, but I don't
Yeah,
want to get into that debate. Of course, we argue.
yeah, but yeah,
So one of the news stations that we watched a lot of the times on base was News Nation. That's the news for military. That if we're overseas, that's going to be the channel we watch. It's all we're able to see.
okay,
And they seem the least biased, specifically because they're going to be reporting on what's going on within the government, within the military. We have to, as someone who was in, we were in that family, we have to know what's going on because that affects our entire family. So I see them as, I'm not saying they are completely honest, because they are going to be biased whatever they say,
yes,
but they're going to have to be more honest because of who they are specifically reporting to. Now, people not in the, like if you're closer to a base, you're going to get these channels. Like people in New York by Fort Drum, people, Virginia has a huge military base. El Paso is going to have this news station. We watched it constantly
El
because it
Paso's in a
was,
state of emergency right now.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, the mayor just declared it a few weeks ago.
Fiona, get out of the kitchen. You're not eating the cat food.
Every southern Texas fucking town is in a state of emergency right now.
But so I would say that is probably one of my top, specifically because of how they have to report.
So you trust them because they go to the military, or they're more in the middle, or they do news
I
more
think
fucking
they're more in the middle, but they're also going to be reporting on things that are actually going to be affecting people. They're not just going to be reporting something that's going to catch your emotions. They're going to be reporting on what's actually going on, because what actually is going on is going to affect every single person in the military.
Okay.
If that makes sense. And
I
again,
think it does.
it's what we watch. They still play School of Rock things on there. Like on their things, so conjunction junction shit.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
They still do that.
I still know that song. Yeah,
So,
like as a grown man, I still sing that song randomly, just walking around. It'll pop in my head.
But that started on NPR. That ended up going to that because it's something that we still use, because during the day they are going to be playing cartoons for kids, because you're overseas. That's what you're watching. And if you're watching like in Germany, I'm not going to watch a cartoon in German because I don't understand German.
Yeah. I mean, you can basically go by their actions, but it's still difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. So NPR, and I believe Air. I know that you said
Do you have a specific person, like out of all the news people, that you trust? Like
so
when they talk, you trust they're giving you an honest, insightful opinion?
No, they're honestly no. Again, they're getting the reports from other people, which is what makes me a little iffy on who to trust when it comes to news anchors.
How about Russell Brand? I mean, he was hardcore left forever, and he's only being attacked now because he went against the vaccine thing.
He's left
with everything. He's left.
I like him as a person in general, but I actually don't follow him as a news anchor.
Okay, because I mean,
when it comes to like things like podcasts and stuff, I'm like,
he's more in the the podcast news
Yeah,
for.
and that I take what they say is with a grain of salt, regardless of who's
Well,
reporting it.
they are getting hundreds of times more viewers than mainstream is now.
That's because
Hundreds of
it's
times.
easier for, like, honestly, a lot of people are getting their news from Facebook and they're getting their news from TikTok, which is how we learned
Podcasts.
about the Young
Yep.
Turks and podcasts.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
again, it's
Young
something
Turks is
like
the podcast.
if I see something, I want to look into that thing rather than take
Yep.
whatever the news station
Well,
is with a
especially
grain of salt.
if it's a very divisive thing and some agenda is being pushed and you could feel something's being swerved on it, you want to look at different sources. Because odds are, especially if they go on one of the mainstream, it's being skewed in a certain direction to some extent. And honestly, the best way is to watch all of them, to watch a little piece of
Do
all of
your
them.
own research.
And yeah,
Who was
do
there?
some research. Trust your own eyes.
But who's your top then? I'm going through this
Well,
quicker because my laundry is almost done.
I did this a little bit differently, only because I went just straight up mainstream. I went to the big three because that's what people get when they get their cable package. So Fox, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, all that shit. I mean, I trust none of them. I trust none, but I trust the most, I guess, would be Fox. Only because in all my research, they are the most trusted. They do say it very vocally. We do lean right in our punditry. That's the problem with CNN as well. They say they're down the middle, and everyone knows they're not. But Fox is upright and forward. So listen, we give you perspective from our side. We represent the Republican Party. We do have some conservatives on here. And when the biggest thing they have against them is this whole Dominion lawsuit that they just settled about a year ago with Tucker getting fired, and then they had to pay $787.5 million for Dominion voting machines. And it was because they lied. It was because they were pushing the issue that their machines could be hacked and the election might have been stolen. And Dominion was trying to say, no, our thing is perfect. But just by them saying it, they lost the lawsuit, which makes me horrified in newsrooms because I thought you're allowed to get something wrong. I mean, I thought you're allowed to have an opinion, push an opinion, and be wrong about it. And the fact that they lost them for being wrong is crazy.
Fox News has like 5 lawsuits right now.
Because Tucker is more anti-right and anti-left. Tucker is anti-war.
Well, it looks like Fox has like several different lawsuits going on right now.
Yeah, and it's a lot of time with defamatory. It's a lot of time with opinion-based, but it's not about lying. It's about skewing somebody from facts that they thought were right. My problem with CNN is that they blatantly lie. Fox will get shit wrong, and they do skew to the right, but they don't blatantly lie. And my favorite news person that I trust the most getting my news from somebody is Joe Rogan. It just is. Because even when he's talking to a right guy, a guy in the right, a guy in the left on his show, he will call them out if they're full of shit. And even if Joe Rogan thinks himself is wrong, he will live stream Googling it right there to find out the fact. And he's been wrong a whole bunch of times. And he's like, oh, wait, I was wrong. I'm just an idiot. I thought it was this. But he is very keen on getting things right. Even though he's not a news guy, it's not his job. He promotes staying in shape, being nice to your neighbor, and laughing. I mean, he's a stand-up guy that brought an entire, basically, group of Hollywood elites, which was the comedy community, and brought them to Austin. And right now, the comedy scene in Austin, Texas, has kaboomed that city, has exploded, and financially, economically, brought Austin to one of those places in the country now people are flocking to. And it was because he was tired of the California communism rule and then went down to Texas because he was allowed to eat without a mask on. When everyone was, and it just basically their restrictions and the way homelessness is now an epidemic in California, and it's just lawlessness, and you can't arrest people if they steal.
Okay, but you again here. So hang on. First thing I think you probably looked up there because there's a bunch of news articles on things that Fox News has straight up lied about. But I
didn't see any.
So, I just text out of that because I'm going to share my screen. I don't want everyone to know what I'm looking at right now because I have my school stuff up too.
Okay.
But so one of the things that I found hilarious with Fox News was when they were talking about the vaccine originally, like, don't do it. Don't do it. Every single person in Fox News got vaccinated, and they lied saying they did not.
Because they had to, or they would lose their job.
But they told the people that they did not. People are like, well, we're not doing it. They straight up that was a.
You don't think they felt that way though? You think they were lying and they didn't feel that way to don't do the vax?
Hang on 1 second. I don't want to do the entire screen, but I'm going to share what I was explaining earlier when it comes to statistically where certain places stand, and then how honest these places are considered being. Like when you talk about like, so let me know when you see it or if you see it. So do you see anything?
No.
Okay, hang on 1 sec. Stop sharing. Confirm. Okay, let's try this again. We're gonna do this window. Okay, Windows is sharing on. It's telling me that it's sharing, but I'm not seeing it.
Yep, I see it.
Okay, so if you see this is so I'm going to make this bigger so I can see it better. So this is taking every single news outlet that we currently have, and you can kind of see where they rank, but you can also see the more reliable
I think this was from Scribs News. I did see this.
So this I find interesting. So if you can see like Fox News and CNN, they're right around the same when it comes to honesty.
Yeah.
But our most honest is still currently NPR, but it's only 50% honest. And that's the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I said, I don't trust any of them. I really don't.
If we're really getting the news, our news should be 80, 85, 90%, because you can never get everything completely correct. But when we really get into, look, this is insanely, it's crazy.
Yeah.
PBS, this is the one that I had, PBS, this is the one you said was bought out. NPR
that
News.
Was bought by Walmart.
So yeah, they're still left leaning.
Yep.
But then, and then the AFT, this one, the one that I discussed, is kind of right leaning, which is that's when I consider more honest than other. But if we get closer, like Fox News, they're all right around the same.
Well, see, the problem is though, is all those places like you said, the AFT, that's not mainstream. I mean, it might be mainstream in some circles, but to 90% of the country who has basic cable, that's not.
But like the highest one that we would all get at is NPR, but even they're not anywhere near where we should be when it comes to reporting correct news.
It should be honesty to the nth degree, and if you get stuff wrong, you get it wrong on accident, not purposefully. And if you do skew to one side, just be honest about your skew. Like if CNN would just say, "Hey, we promote left leaning policies, we promote left leaning candidates. That's fine. That's the way we feel over here." And we're going to try and give you the news down the middle and to give our opinions leaning left on what the news entails. So the problem is they don't. They lie and say we're all down the middle. We're not giving you any skew. We're giving you the 100% facts. And then this is how we see it. And then it just lies. At least Fox says they lean to the right. They're honest about their lean.
Like I said, where they stand, it's still it's right in line, just left to right. So just so anyone who's watching this can see and realize, we're all biased, and we're all going to follow what we more believe in.
It's an impossibility not to be biased in some way.
But not one person, not one news station is just reporting the news. None of them are. They're all kind of all sorts of fucked up.
Well, there's a difference between reporting the news and then punditry. And right now, the punditry and reporting the news has been meshed. So to where while the news is coming out, they're giving their opinion on it and then skewing it while they're speaking about it.
Okay, so just so you know, just because me and him argue when it comes to this.
I don't see you.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to fix it. I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure what happened. But yeah, that's kind of where I stand. Again,
Yeah, I said I took it more mainstream to the nth degree, but I probably would trust more than even the ones that I said.
So that's kind of why I it's because this is what, like you said, we grew up with certain things. I grew up, remember watching these specific news stations, and that's why I'm like, that's why I trust them.
Well, to be honest now, I trust social media outlets, podcasts more now, because you get to know the person and you know what their morals are and you know if they are fake or not. I mean, the fact that Joe Rogan probably has about 3 hours a day, 3 to 4 or 5 days a week for 10 years now. he is who he is, and it's right there. If he gets stuff wrong, he gets it wrong. Like another one. I think it's called Boiling Point with Craig and Cigar or something like that. But it's similar to what we're doing here. The Cigar is right and Crystal is left, and they debate the day's news from both sides of the spectrum. I believe it's called Boiling Point. There's also one called Trigonometry. It's a punditry on the news. I think that slightly leans to the right, but it has left-leaning kind of pundits in there. But they bring people on and they have a debate. They speak from their perspective and they try to give facts and of course they try and leave feeling out of it if you can, but sometimes it seeps in. But they're honest about what they are, and that's all we want as a people, is to see the people being honest. We want the news and how it happened, and if you have a perspective, that's fine. But tell us your perspective. Tell us if you lean right, if you lean left. Let us know that you do feel this way about it. Don't say this is what happened and then blatantly lie to push your agenda, to push your side, and then say, no, I'm speaking from cold, hard facts on the middle, even though you're blatantly lying on one side of the fence and you're pushing it from the one side, which I don't care if you push, but just tell us you're pushing.
That's how you knock the fence over.
An honest opinion from our perspective.
Yeah, when you push a fence too far left or right, you're going to knock it over.
Yeah,
that's just the way it is. But let's get into the fun topic, because I do have to start. I have an assignment I have to do.
Yep, all good. All right, now our second topic today, what we're going to do is we are going to discuss, again, a best and a worst, a quick best and worst, on the best skew from book to video, from the worst book to video adaptation. And we're just going to see what we thought the worst one that happened and then the best one that happened. So do you want to give me your worst, the worst book to video?
Mine doesn't turn into a movie, it turned into a series.
Yep, that's all good.
I love Stephen King.
Yep.
Love him. A lot of his movies turn out great. But one of the worst adaptations I think that was from one of his things was Under the Dome. The book was amazing.
That show started off good too, though, and it kind of fell apart.
It was an amazing book, though. It was a huge book, though. Hard read if you're not an avid reader. But I mean, like, great book. Just what he comes up with is amazing. The TV show was just like lukewarm.
Yes.
Kind of messed a lot of shit up. I didn't like it. So.
Oh yeah, I fucking wrote down my thing, and I don't know what the hell I did with it. I basically, all right. The worst ones. Well.
Okay, so are we doing more than one or two?
Well, no, just like, I mean, if you couldn't pick one.
I have, because there is one more. The book World War Z, with the one with the zombies. That was a really, really fucking good book. And it was a good movie, but it veered so far away from the book that it bothered me. Like, I like the movie, I like the book, but I have to think them as two separate things because they didn't coincide.
Okay.
Right?
All right. I actually have three for my worst. I'll do them quick. In fact, my worst and best kind of combine a little bit, but my worst, one of the worst, is a soft adaptation from a series, which is The Rings of Power. It was a brand new show that came on Amazon. I was pumped. It was horrible. It was fucking just slow and dull and boring, and I probably made it to the third episode, and if that, I was passing out with each one. It was just a slow churn, and Lord of the Rings usually are, but the movies are exciting. It's slow, but it gets exciting. This just never got exciting. Another one, again, a Stephen King one. I was pumped about it when it came out because it's a big 4-part series of books, The Dark Tower. It was a movie that came out not long ago, had Idris Elba. It was a book of a magic land going into a
the book. I've read the series of books. They were good.
Awesome series. The movie was dog shit.
There's like 6 of them now. There's like 6.
Yeah, I think something like that. Yeah, it's something along those lines. And my last one. This was my favorite book series growing up as a kid, and I wanted this so bad to be scary and ruthless and just cool. And it could have been like a whole universe, like the Marvel universe, is Goosebumps.
Yeah.
I wanted that to go in a whole different direction. I know it's a teen scary book, so they kept it light with Jack Black, but I wanted to go hard into the Goosebumps because the books aren't light. The books are
I would
scary.
love to see
I mean,
Jack Black in something scary though, like
yes, but
actually
actually
scary.
scary, you know? And then there's so many. The problem is that they made that movie about all the books intertwined instead of taking each book and making it a movie. There's hundreds of Goosebumps tales, and that
Well,
could
they
be
can
a
combine
whole
a couple of them.
universe.
Like I would say, like the Night of the Living Dummy series would
Oh,
turn
the
into like
yes.
its own
Slappy
thing.
was awesome. He was so creepy in
So,
the book.
but yeah, you can't really pull them because I think they did that with the TV show. They're like Night of the Living Dummy Part
I
1,
know.
and
They
that's where the
they try
issue
to keep
comes
it
in.
toned down and
But if you can like take a couple that kind of mesh together,
yep.
that would work.
Yes,
Like,
absolutely. I mean, I'm not saying put every book, but yeah, do a few that are similar and mesh them up. But there's still hundreds of stories. Instead of cramming hundreds of stories into one movie and keeping it light and a little like on the kid spooky side. I mean, I read those as a kid because it was scary as a kid.
yeah.
It wasn't goofy in the books. It was
I still have a couple of them. Arrows
yeah.
has a couple of them. Yeah.
They were meant to be scary. They were trying to be scary. I mean, maybe it was a lighter scary, maybe kind of like The Conjuring, to where it's not like vulgar or bloody, but it's spooky. It's
old
scary.
school scary.
Yes.
That's what I think.
Yes.
Yeah, old school scary.
And I was pumped about Goosebumps because, as you know, that was my jam growing up. Also yours. Goosebumps.
I had just pure R.L. Stein. It wasn't just
Yep.
Goosebumps.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It was a bunch of books
Yep.
they did.
R.L. Stein was like the author. Him and Stephen King as a kid.
Well, the fact that we read Stephen King as a kid is probably
yeah, and I probably have almost every one of his books. But yeah, that's besides the point.
But so yeah.
Who was your best now? Did you
So
have
that's
1,
hard.
2, 3?
I don't want it because I really liked the Lord of the Rings movies, but I was told by so many book lovers that they were terrible. Like they were good movies, but
Yeah, but take their opinion with a grain of salt. How much do you love the video adaptation?
But if I'm gonna go for one of my favorites is probably Rose Red.
Rose Red was good. Rose Red was spooky atmosphere.
Another one that I really liked, and a completely different genre because we kind of went with spooky for this.
Yeah.
Is I like books in general, so it's not just the scary. I like there's some classic books too. I like the Pride and Prejudice book. It's a great book.
I've never read the book or the movie. I've never seen the movie or the book.
I didn't like the Keira Knightley version of it, the one that came out in like 2005.
I think the people love the movie, I think.
But my favorite version of that book is the made-for-TV movie with Colin Firth, I think, in it.
Okay. I've never seen it.
It's like a 6-hour movie, and it really, 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 really follows the book. And
it's a faithful adaptation.
Yes, just like the Rose Red book.
Okay.
Great book. It's great. Both of them great books, great movies.
Okay, those are good. I mean, those are out of the box, and both. I mean, I've heard nothing but good things about the Pride and Prejudice movie. And Rose Red, you're right. I like that. I mean, that's a double movie. That's like a 3.5-hour movie too, I think.
Yeah, that was another. Well, see, I didn't like. I didn't. Like I said, I wasn't. I think because my expectations were so high with that one Pride and Prejudice, that the movie I was like, that.
Yeah, it didn't quite hit the.
Well, it's that like. In the books, they're saying how beautiful these girls are and how this is, and for some reason, every single time they make a romantic movie, they have to make the guy ugly as fuck. Like that bothers me so much. They have these gorgeous actresses and everything, and it's like, oh yeah, they're gonna fall in love with this guy. I'm like, no, they're not. Like, come on.
Yeah.
and the other one, it's like the one girl was plain. She was meant to be a plain, like Jane kind of sister, really great. And the other three sisters, they were bubbly and cute, perky, serious. But it's just the newest Pride and Prejudice didn't really do that for me because they kind of made almost everyone. Justice. No, yeah. they made everyone kind of more plain except the one main actress.
Well, that's a problem with a lot of movies now is they don't envelop characters to the nth degree. They try to push them all into a box and that's who you are, and there's no veering from that box.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just
a lot less character development. Yeah.
Honestly, though, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, really fucking good movie.
But I heard that was good too, though. I've never seen that one.
It still kind of followed the book, but they added zombies, and I'm like, that's great. Like
they did Abraham Lincoln
and Vampires, which was also good.
I heard that was good too. I think I've seen that. I think I did like that one.
And they have some
Abraham Lincoln, the Vampire Hunter.
And they had like some historical accurate things that were like
Yes,
sprinkled in there.
thrown in there, kind of like a Forrest Gump type movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
those were my top. Honestly, that would be another top one. I don't know if if they made a book about it, but yeah, Abraham Lincoln and the Vampire Hunter, good movie. So
Okay.
All right, what are your top?
All right, I got 3. So my least favorite of my favorites is probably Game of Thrones. I think this show had the chance to be the best show of all time. If they finished it right in the last season, Game of Thrones could have been, I mean, it still is, I think, as one of the best shows of all time, but how they destroyed it in the last season drives me nuts.
I think it's because they were forcing him to write too quickly because they wanted to finish it.
The problem, one of the biggest problems, that character arcs kind of fell to a fart into the last one. Like the Dragon Queen was built up, her character has evolved, and to get stabbed in the back without saying nothing at the very end, it was horrible. And all of a sudden she's killing innocent people, and I didn't like that. And then on top of that is the first few seasons, if they were going from the north to the south or the south to the west, it took like a whole season.
Yeah.
In the last season, they were bouncing back and forth 8 times an episode. It was like, all right, John needs help up in the north with the zombies and the White Walkers. Chris, go tell the Dragon Queen, run. And this guy runs away, and all of a sudden, 5 minutes later, she's down south, thousands of miles away, and she swoops up with her dragon just in time, like an hour later. It's like, that would have taken 9 episodes 2 seasons ago, and now it took you 5 minutes. I
did like the Lady of Bear Island.
She was awesome. Yes. She was a little badass that took down a fucking giant. Yeah.
I love her.
She was cool. She's actually the girl from Last of Us.
Yeah. Well, she gave off the same vibes. Do you remember The Lord of the Rings, the one where he was like, no human male can kill me, and she like the
oh yeah.
She's like, I am no man. Same vibes. I'm like, they can be
and her people were hard nosed and blue collar, and that's what she was. Yeah. She was a hard nosed blue collar leader, and she led with a fucking iron fist. It might have been an 8-year-old iron fist, but it was the baddest 8-year-old bitch I can fucking ever know.
I still feel like that whole thing fell apart. Specific one, I think with the queen, the dragon mother of dragons. I believe that you can kind of see her hunger for power as the seasons went on.
Yeah, but it just killing innocent people was what she was against her whole time.
I think
and all of a sudden she killed like everyone innocent. It didn't make sense.
I think if it really showed her going into madness before that, like maybe another 2 seasons of her
it's something to madness. I guess more because her whole stick was free everybody, free the slaves. People are not meant to be like slaved up and hurt and killed for no reason. And then all of a sudden she's doing it.
I think if it was showing a gentle slip into madness, it would have made more sense.
It just all the gentle slips you saw coming in the first 7 seasons, all of a sudden was a free slide in the 8th season. Every person's fucking character arc whammed into it in the 8th.
It's a mudslide going down.
And then they pick for King at the very end, the one who's not even a fucking human. So he can't show empathy. He can't show compassion. He just can look in the future and the past. Like, oh, no. He's like fucking Doctor Strange. A million different things in his head.
I do like Bran though as a character.
I like him too, but he shouldn't be the king. He's not a person. He's the 3-eyed raven. Go be a 3-eyed raven. Go fucking be the king's aide.
He was kind of against it. But okay, all right, keep going.
Okay. My second one is It. I love It. And I loved the new movie. If I can combine the first movie of the new movie and the second movie of the old movie, I would have the perfect It. And the books are so much more graphic and so much more shit happens in them. They're so much more brutal, but the movies were fun and they were meant to be scary, and it wasn't lighthearted. It was meant to be scary, in your face. And
I did like how they sprinkled some things into that, like the turtle in the ocean when they were going.
It gets a little nutty.
If you read the book though, you would know why the turtle was so important.
Yeah, yep. But they never really delved into that in the movie, but they did keep it scary, and it wasn't goofball like Goosebumps, you know?
Yeah.
But
I think it would be interesting if they did something on that, like if they did like of how he got to Earth. If they did that whole movie of how he
Well,
got there,
they're
kind of
actually doing a series. Welcome to Pennywise. Of when he first shows up at in like the 1800s.
what they
An
should show
HBO
the whole
series.
thing though, like the turtle thing, like it
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
just to
I don't
kind
think
of.
they're gonna get into that, but I really don't know. It's gonna show when Pennywise shows up at the town way back in the 1800s. It's called like Welcome to Derry, I think. It's gonna be an
That would be.
HBO series.
I'm hoping that's as good as the
Well,
Chucky
they're
series.
making it right now. Yeah, it's gonna be an HBO series next year.
Okay.
But I think the best adaptation from book to video, movie, show, whatever, is Harry Potter. Harry Potter is the Dawn. There's fucking like 13 movies. A few are better than others, but it is
So are
the
you going
best.
into not just the Harry Potter series, but
Yeah,
like the other one
yeah.
too?
I'm just Harry Potter. Basically world. The Harry Potter world. I mean, I do
Okay.
understand the Fantastic Beasts skews off. It's a part of it a little bit, but it's mainly the Harry Potter movies. It's like the Goblet of Fire.
Oh yeah,
The
Veritas is getting into those. I have them on the Voodoo, and Veritas is like she's getting into it. It's nice.
Those are well, they're fun for kids. It gives the kids a chance to. What if I was a magician? What if I was a witch? And I'd
Oh
go to
yeah.
a magical school, and everybody wants to have magic, you know. And that kind of brought that to life. And Harry Potter, I thought, was one of the best start to finish series of any adaptation ever made, from the first movie to the last movie. The
I think
Deathly
it's
Hallows Part
because
2,
J.K.
they were
Rowling
all
actually
great.
had a heavy hand in how she sold it. Like she
Yes.
was like,
Yep.
it has to be like this. It has to be these specific kinds of people.
And
Has
it
to be
helped.
British. Yeah,
And,
I
and
do agree.
and she kept the same people throughout,
Yeah.
like all
Well,
the
she
stories.
except for the one who passed away.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
And
definitely.
it's so sad that Professor Snape passed away not too long after
Yeah,
the
and so
movie.
did Hagrid.
Yeah.
Hagrid
And
just
so did
passed.
the second person who played
Oh,
uh
Dumbledore.
yeah, he
Yep,
just passed away
yep.
too.
I heard that too. Yep.
But it was definitely, I agree, they were amazing movies. I went with things like I still watch now. Like I will watch the Harry Potter movies,
Yep.
but honestly, sometimes when I'm at work and I want to listen to something, I will put on Pride and Prejudice and listen to it because I like it and I know the movie.
Yeah, there you go. I do the
when
same
I'm
thing with it.
yeah. Oh, I have both of those too. I've put on Rose Red a couple of times when I'm
Yep.
working because I fucking that movie was amazing. Definitely like a weird twist ending.
Yeah.
Like
Well, that was before the whole Sixth Sense thing too.
yeah.
Yeah.
My issue with World War Z is the fact that in the movie they talked about finding a cure for it. You have
Yeah, the movie had so many problems. I remember when that movie was being made, there was reshoots and reshoots and reshoots. There was all problems with that. All sorts of problems.
But the book, my God, it went.
It was good. Yeah, well, that's what sucks when you have a book following and some sort of cult following behind it. You have some sort of expectations. At least the diehards want you to accomplish, and then you also have the objective on bringing everybody else into it.
Yeah.
And then any light brought to a movie made off of a book can only help the book. Even if the movie sucks, it brings people to the book. It brings them to check it out, to bring back to brick and mortar, to the pages, the paper, to the writers of elder times. I mean, it brings it back to book days, to where books are so important, you know?
I mean, I still read. I read books all the time. Like one of my favorite authors, I don't see her ever making a movie from her books.
No.
Ever. But she is one of my favorite authors. If anyone's watching this, look up Laurel Hamilton.
I think I've heard her name before. I've seen her name. She has hundreds of books, I think.
I'm reading her series right now, Anita Blake's series. I'm on like the 23rd book of the series. And she's still writing them. And she still writes the Mary Gentry series. And now I've just got another one not too long ago called Angel. And everything that she writes has to do with vampires and demons and vampire slayers and fairies. And not like the fairies that we like, the fly. These are like considered unseelie and seelie and brown, and it goes into the mythical world of this stuff, and it's so fascinating. And Angel, of course, is about angels and demons.
Yeah. So which is always fun to kind of explore.
So really, really good author. One of my, again, up there for me, it's up there with Stephen King. She'll never make movies about her books just because of some of the things really in her books, but they're amazing.
So Laurel Hamilton. Gotcha.
Yes.
Everybody get Laurel Hamilton. But
One of the few people I actually paid for a signed book from her.
okay,
Like
that's cool.
I have a Justin had burned all my books,
Yeah.
and I had all of these hardcovered books of hers. Now I'm working on buying the first edition signed copies, which is expensive. So I have one.
All right. Well, we pretty much hit overtime. You got schoolwork to do.
Yep.
I got football to explore. This is the end of the thing. It was fun. We'll do it again next week. If people want to find you, do you have a Twitch thing you can push or a name?
Oh
People
yeah. If someone wants to follow me, if you want to argue with me on Twitch, which I would love, I stream mostly weekends. Twitch.tv/country_mom.
There you go. Say it again.
Come in Twitch.tv/country_mom.
Okay.
And you can find me on there. You can jump in there. You can argue with me all you want. I actually have a friend that's more conservative leaning that will probably argue with you.
So there you go.
But
righties or lefties are welcome. Argue to your fucking little heart desires, but be good. Be nice about it. Argue
as long as you subscribe and pay for it.
There you go. That money.
Oh yeah.
But enjoy your day. We'll do this again next weekend.
All right. Aye. Bye.